the news, it wasn't a huge shock. We knew that he was in hospital throughout the World Cup. He'd been taken ill. We were getting updates regularly, but it's always one of those moments. You remember where you were when you heard the news that Pele died. Now, growing up, I'm a bit older than you, but the world superstar that is still today was the name that I knew when I grew up as a young boy. Pele. Pele was everything. Pele was everything. Pele was everything. And he was the first global, as we just heard in that package, the first global footballing superstar that transcended sport, a little bit like some other sportsman. Muhammad Ali is one of those. But he was the first that I can think of, Benty.
Yeah, as you said there, I mean, before my time, but you knew, even me growing up, I was born in 84, but the name, when I understood what words meant, Pele was the one that was, my dad was always going on about Pele. What a player.
Did your dad ever see him play?
He probably would have watched him on TV at a World Cup. He would have done for sure. But you talk about a global icon. I mean, so much around him, the 3 World Cups, and you talk about 3 World Cups where he contributed. It wasn't like for the very first one he was an unused sub, but he was just there, so he gets a medal. You talk about a guy that 58 scored winners in the final.
17.
Do you know what I mean? 17 years old, and 62 unfortunately was 66. He got kicked out of it.
That's right, he did.
Won it in 62. So it's one of them where the name just, as you said there, is what you call world famous, even down to the boots that he wore. I remember my dad buying me Puma King boots. One of the first pair of boots I owned were Puma Kings because my dad wore Pele. They were good enough for Pele, so they're definitely good enough for you. So it was a little bit like that. But I mean, I've not heard one person say a bad thing about him, a bad story about him or anything. I know that doesn't usually happen when someone passes, but there's genuine love across the globe for Pele, and it's a sad day for it's a sad day for football, but not just football. It's a sad day for sport.
It is, and he was, and still is, one of the world's greats ever, because football is the biggest sport in the world, and we're very lucky that we've been involved in football all our lives. But he was, if you think about the age of football's not that old, really. No. Football's only been going around since the late 1800s. But he was the first, and of course, television and radio allowed people to find out and see who this legend was. There's a little bit of mythology about certain things because we only got to see certain players, certainly back in the 60s, on TV or when the World Cup come around, because nowadays we can go and watch Brazilian football, Australian football, Argentinian football, Spanish, Italian, German, Portuguese.
It's at the touch of a button, as you said there.
It is.
Because even with social media, we look at global superstars of today, whether they be Ronaldo, Messi, LeBron James, these guys, you press a button on your phone and their whole life's basically in front of your face. So you see them daily, as many times as you want. But when you talk about people like Pele, Muhammad Ali, now my dad is like, his sporting hero is Muhammad Ali, and he always tells me a story about where he was a little kid somewhere and Ali was surrounded by, first of all he saw a commotion, loads of people, and then he thought, what's going on? And he managed to, obviously being a kid, squeeze his way, and he just looked up and he just saw Ali walking, and he said he managed to put his hand out and just about touch his leg. And for him, I mean, listen, my dad...
I bet he still talks about it now.
My dad's 60 plus and he still remembers it like it was yesterday. But I always feel like them kind of superstars like the Alis and the Peles, because there was no social media, and the only time you would probably see Ali maybe is when he fought, or when Pele was playing every 4 years at a World Cup, that they almost become godlike. Like, do these people really exist? It's like folklore, isn't it? Like, there was this guy called Pele, just because he just wasn't there at a touch of a button. So, listen, it's a really sad day, but you talk about arguably the greatest player to ever live.
What is his legacy, Benty? Is it the fact that he's the only man to win 3 World Cups, or is it wider than that?
I think it's a lot wider than that. I mean, 3 World Cups, to win 3 World Cups is incredible, and to play such a significant role in all 3 is phenomenal. So I think his legacy will of course be greatness. I think that's the biggest compliment. Legend. I've heard someone speaking about this before. I do believe that we're so quick at times to throw that word legend out so frequently. Like, he's a legend.
It is. Yes, it is. It's almost done a bit of jest now.
He's a legend. Yeah. But no, when you actually talk about legend and icon and all the kind of compliments you could play somebody, Pele is at the very, very top. When you talk about dining at the top table, he's up there with the likes of Ali when it comes to world sport. Himself, there's loads.
He must be number 1.
I think he'd be in everybody's number 3. Because
it's the world's greatest sport and the king of the world's greatest sport.
Listen, there's going to be an argument because you're going to get Muhammad Ali fans come on in there, millions, because you talk about...
Again, he transcended sport. He went from the back pages to the front pages.
Exactly, a bit like Pele. So I think greatness, legend, and any word you can describe someone as being the best of their era, ever, their generation, you've thrown them all at Pele, because I think, as I said, I've not heard one person talk negatively about him. Not once.